As Clarice mentioned, the Republicans for president mix it up tomorrow night, and a couple of very political court cases making news this week as well. Time for the most alluring 4 minutes in TV news.
You're pulling out the big words tonight. I like it.
Alluring. That makes me uncomfortable. Anyway, it's the Fox 4 talk show host Ben Ferguson right there. All right, Ben, let's talk with Texas voter ID law. Appeals court rules the law violates the Voting Rights Act, but the judges also overruled the lower court, saying the law does not intentionally discriminate. They essentially wrote it just kind of does.
Yeah.
How does this change voting in Texas in November 2016, for example?
Well, it certainly allows for voter fraud to come back in a much bigger way. We know that if you care about your vote, you should want to show an ID to make sure that someone else doesn't vote illegally and cancels out your vote. I also think it's incredibly condescending to imply that somehow only minorities don't have a card that would actually allow them to go in and show who they are. I mean, that's one of the things I've not understood about this from people that are saying, well, if you're African American or you're Hispanic, the chances that you have is something that has your picture on it that's state issue ID, you're not going to have that, but other races will in fact have that.
I read that 49-page thing, and they had some stats, some polling to back it up. They said African Americans were about 8% didn't have, there was percentages, 8% of
I get that, but
6% of Latinos and about 4% of white people.
But I go back to the core issue, which is this. Do you want to do everything that you can to make sure that people know that there is integrity in the system when they go in to vote, and that someone is not going to vote illegally and cancel out their vote, or even have people that are dead that are somehow voting? We've seen that all over the country, and I think the Supreme Court is definitely going to have to deal with this one, and I'll be very interested to see what they do.
Yeah, I want to set this aside quickly, but I do want to talk about, we always talk about winners and losers,
yeah.
And the judges essentially said the goals of the law had merit, stop voter fraud.
Exactly.
And when they sent it back to lower court, they advised that any solution should try to accomplish that. So who wins here? Do Democrats win? Does that make the Republicans win a little bit?
Well, I think the Republicans should now say to Democrats, hey, if you don't like this, give us a better idea. If you have a better method or a better way to allow people to vote with integrity in voting, which is the goal of the state here, then go ahead and bring that to the table instead of throwing down the race card on this. And I think it'll be very interesting to see that Democrats do not have a plan at all on how to make sure that my vote and your vote or anybody else's is counted appropriately.
All right, let's talk about tomorrow's Republican debate.
It's finally here.
You like the top 10?
I do. I mean, it's sad if your name's Rick Santorum and Rick Perry, they're not going to be on the main stage. It puts them in a very awkward situation. They're both now, their campaigns, let's be honest, they're going to be on a lifeline. And they're going to have to convince people that are donors that they need money and that they should be willing to write that check even though they're not in the top 10. So I think that earlier debate is going to be very interesting to see what happens, and I also think their campaigns are going to have to be a little bit more flamboyant in the weeks ahead so they can get back on that main debate stage.
You're still anti-Trump?
I think Donald Trump is going to be a guy that we're going to see at some point go up in real flames. I think he's filled a void. I think people love how blunt and bold he's being, but I think you're also going to see a lot of Republicans tomorrow night remind people of what Donald Trump's actual record says. And his record is not of some big, strong GOP conservative. And if they're smart, they're all going to point that out tomorrow night.
Okay. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton indicted for securities fraud, whisked in and out the side door of the county jail and gone. What's your big takeaway on this?
Two, for people that are celebrating it, I'd be very cautious and remember Rick Perry when he had his mugshot taken, and it looks like there's going to be pretty much nothing there. The second thing is has nothing to do with his job in the public sector. This is a private sector thing. As one attorney said to me, they said if this was a normal citizen, this would have never been heard in a court, much less taken to this point where they're actually taking mugshots. And I think some of this is politically motivated.
I don't know. I want the Texas Attorney General. I know what you're saying, but you want to hold that person to a higher level.
Absolutely.
You talk about the mugshot, and you may find this silly, but silly little things cost people their political careers. The towel thing. Yeah. Getting a ton of email and calls about this. And I think everybody, you know, we don't know what selling securities or selling investments is like. But we know if I get arrested in Collin County, you get arrested in Collin County,
you're going to have that
we're
towel.
wearing that towel, and it screams of special treatment. Call your judge
and
buddy.
I think that was an incredibly bad move, a Bush League move, to even ask and or request that. And the main reason is because it looks like special treatment. What also is a little bit funny is people care more about the stupid towel than they actually do about the court case.
They do.
Which is, you know, oh, I don't care about the securities fraud issues. I care that he didn't have to have the towel like everyone else does. And if you ever get in trouble, go in there, and I think Rick Perry did a great job of this. Do it by the book, the way that everybody else coming in would have to do it. You can smile, you can be nice, you can shake hands. You're obviously in a unique situation as a politician, but ultimately don't ask for special favors when it comes to your mugshot.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Ben, thanks.
Thanks.
By the way, I never want to see you in one of those towels, mister.
Don't worry.
All right, you can join Ben's 500,000 followers on Twitter at Ben Ferguson Show. Thanks again, Ben.
Thanks.